It's a nice little jig called Out on the Ocean. Well, apart from being a musical instrument, whistling is also a means of communication, a language, a call to arms, a way of directing our animals, particularly our farm animals, think shepherds and their sheepdogs, and a means of transporting our music, because maybe 100 years ago or 70 years ago, people didn't have the money to buy musical instruments, so the easiest way to transport music was in your whistle. So as I said, I was brought up in Laois. Now, geographically, Laois is the only landlocked county in Ireland. That's a pub quiz question if you're ever stuck. It's surrounded by counties that don't touch the sea. And that was a slight problem for me because I always dreamed of the sea. And I loved once a year when we would get to go to the sea. But the nearest big body of water to us is in County Kildare, about 20 kilometres away, the River Barrow. And it wasn't really a place to go swimming. So I left home when I was 18 and I have lived beside the sea ever since in really beautiful locations. We moved to County Clare, Lahinch, and had a nice little business there and had my eldest children. And they spent a lot of time on the beach. It's a beautiful beach. When the tide is out, I'd say it goes out maybe about 3/4 of a kilometre. It's got a really big tidal range. So we developed a family whistle by which I could stand on the prom and whistle for the children, and they would come running, hopefully, if their bellies were hungry enough. So we were using whistling as a means of communication just before I ever realised that other people around the world did and do exactly the same. Whistling as a language has been documented as far back, say, as 500 years before the Common Era, so about 2,500 years ago. Herodotus, the Greek historian, wrote about cave people in Ethiopia whistling to one another. So it is entirely plausible to believe that we probably whistled before we spoke definitely before we spoke the language we speak now. And in some areas of the world, whistling has persisted as both a language and a means of communication, but particularly in hilly areas. Whistling travels for long distance. It can travel, from 5 to maybe 10 kilometres of a distance, especially in still air. So whistling in mountainous areas is a great way of communicating, because often the mobile phone signal, even in today's age, would be non-existent, and so you could whistle instead. The Canary Islands have their own whistling language. It's called Silbo, and the people there were realizing that if they didn't do something about it, that it would die out. So now they teach their children Silbo in school. So they are preserving their heritage in that way. In Gráinne in Turkey, the people have their own whistling language. The Hmong people in the Himalayas have a beautiful whistled love language, which sounds really gorgeous. So two lovers can be communicating with one another without everybody knowing what they're talking about. Whistling is still practiced in the mountains in Mexico and also in Brazil. So that is whistling on land. Now, because I'm down in Lahinch, I'm going to sing a little sea shanty, and this is about a hero of mine when I was growing up, and that was Gráinne Mhaol. And as I mentioned previously in my other videos about how ballads are story songs and how they're great for remembering dates, I know that Gráinne Mhaol was living in the late 1500s and died in 1603 actually. So she was a sea pirate who took over her father's business and made a great success of it, despite him not wanting her to, or lots of other people as well. But she was a mighty woman. And in the second verse of this song, you'll hear a reference to Queen Bess, and Queen Bess is Queen Elizabeth I of England. So she was around in the early 1600s. So now, this is the Gráinne Mhaol sea shanty. It goes: by stout Carrickalla my warships do rise, like swans they're breasting the swift ebbing tide. There's wrought for the Saxon and root for the Gael. In yon Spanish galleys said Gráinne Mhaol, sing bober a dober a Gráinne Mhaol, sing galleys and Gael, all ready to sail, to clear the salt seas from Cape Clear to Kinsale, for the Queen of the Ocean is Gráinne Mhaol. Queen Bess, the owl virgin, rode friendly and fond, to do your grace sweet cause to come journey beyond. So I doffed my steel burra and donned my silk veil, and I went cuckooing, said Gráinne Mhaol, sing bober a dober a Gráinne Mhaol, sing galleys and Gael, all ready to sail, to sweep the salt seas from Cape Clear to Kinsale, for the Queen of the Ocean is Gráinne Mhaol. Mhaol, won't you note how she wondered at me, with my long yellow mantle and blue bodice free? She had pilfered herself all the bones from a whale, to hold her long body, said Gráinne Mhaol, sing bober a dober a Gráinne Mhaol, sing galleys and Gael, all ready to sail, to sweep the salt seas from Mayo to Kinsale, for the Queen of the Ocean is Gráinne Mhaol. She offered me honours, to me, her peer. She offered protection, from whom do I fear? She offered me peace, well we're used to a gale. In stout Carrickalla said Gráinne Mhaol, sing bober a dober a Gráinne Mhaol, sing galleys and Gael, all ready to sail, to sweep the salt seas from Mayo to Kinsale, for the Queen of the Ocean is Gráinne Mhaol. She gave me a spaniel and I muttered a curse, for I have my own babe, my dear bosom to nurse. No shivering pet, right down to its tail, but a wolf out from Connacht, said Gráinne Mhaol, sing bober a dober a Gráinne Mhaol, sing galleys and Gaels, all ready to sail, to sweep the salt seas from Cape Clear to Kinsale, for the Queen of the Ocean is Gráinne Mhaol. Bess parleyed for peace, but base Brigham is out, with Manny's the Sassenach, Churleen and Lout. Darlia, if Clonleam they would dare to assail, there'll be blood on my bonnet, said Gráinne Mhaol, sing bober a dober a Gráinne Mhaol, sing galleys and Gael, all ready to sail, to sweep the salt seas from Mayo to Kinsale, for the Queen of the Ocean is Gráinne Mhaol. Now, whatever about whistling on land, whistling was a no-no on board ships. And there were a few reasons for it. Sailors were pretty superstitious people, and they believed that whistling could call up the wind spirit. And depending on what part of the world you were in, there were gods for the sea everywhere. So I won't go into that now, but that was the worry. And however, if the ship was becalmed, the sailors were all gathered together and asked to whistle to get the wind up so that they could get underway again. Another reason is the boatswain's whistle is very similar to a human whistle. So if the boatswain gave a signal, say, to furl the sail, and somebody else was idly whistling to themselves and inadvertently whistled the opposite signal, then you could have your ship in distress with the sails furled and unfurled. And also there was the worry of mutiny, so to prevent sailors signalling to one another, whistling wasn't tolerated. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, and the Inuit whalers, they whistle to one another when they're out hunting, and as do people who live in jungle or very densely overgrown areas. And what they have in common is that they are both hunters. So rather than shout or speak in human voices, whistling is a much better means of communication because it doesn't startle the prey. So yeah, that's a little bit more about whistling. And in my next video, I am going to talk a little bit about whistling as a call to arms.